I'd like to introduce Danielle Charak next, the second daughter of Nachman and Rywka. She's been a great mentor to me and so many others, and definitely another daughter to carry on that tradition from her parents. Both the Gryfenberg daughters are an embodiment, I think, of everything their parents would have wished for. Danielle.
As the saying goes, before I speak, I'd like to say a few words. A few words of thanks. A herzlichen Dank der Kadimah und dem Kadimah-Komitee und der Präsidentin, der Roche, Renata, für einordnen die heutige Simche. Es ist für uns, die Gryfenberg-Mispoche, a größer Kovet. And thank you, Rebecca, for your work, your skill, and your dedication. We shall enjoy it when it comes on the screen. Thank you, dear friends and well-wishers here tonight. I so appreciate your presence. Now, this was to be also to mark my sister's 85th, and I say Mazel Tov to her, I've said it a few times already, and my 80th. So I thank you for those who've already given me good wishes and on my becoming a bas shmoyim. When I was 60, 70, I thought 80 was old. Now that I'm 80, I know that 80 is old. I don't see so well, I don't hear so well, I don't remember so well, my legs don't carry me so well. This aches and that hurts, aber mental nicht sündigen, they say in Yiddish. I mustn't commit the sin of whinging and complaining, particularly as I have so many blessings in my life that I'm grateful for, and many of them are here tonight. I do want to share a little poem I stumbled across which gives me heart. Edmund Burke, the 18th century Irish philosopher, who died at the age of 68, a good age at the time, wrote, I look in the mirror, and what do I see? A strange-looking person that cannot be me. For I am much younger, and not nearly so fat as that face in the mirror I'm looking at. Oh, where are the mirrors that I used to know? Like the ones that were made 30 years ago. Now, all things have changed, and I'm sure you'll agree, mirrors are not as good as they used to be. So never be concerned if wrinkles appear. For one thing I've learned, which is very clear, should your complexion be less than perfection, it's really the mirror that needs correction. I was listening to my father's voice on an old cassette tape. After describing his early life, their first migration from Warsaw to Brussels in 1929, the beautiful years he and my mother enjoyed in Belgium, the dark war years, the pain on leaving their home there, the difficulties of a second migration, and the hardships of settling into Australia. After all that, he states, Wir haben auf der zweiten Immigration gefunden a Sach Glück. Da ist unsere Mispoche ausgewachsen. Von die 4 sind wir geworden 12. Die verbreiterte Mispoche ist geworden und ist die Base von unser glücklichen Leben. Most of us have understood it. For those who haven't, I will say it in English. On this second migration, which Floris already has mentioned, and you'll forgive me, we're talking about the same person, so there will be things that cover the same ground. We have on this second migration found a lot of happiness. Here, our family grew from the 4 that were, we became 12. The expanded family became and is the basis of our happy lives. Well, Dad, those 12 tripled to 36 here in Australia at the peak of our numbers after you and Mum died. Your grandchildren all wed and with children of their own, 20 great-grandchildren, several of them here today, many are overseas. I'm sure both of you would be proud. You, Mum, knew quite a few of the great-grandchildren. You both would experience a sense of pride, I think, and personal hemshach, the continuity of the Gryfenberg Shevet, Gryfenberg tribe. Nachman Gryfenberg, in the true Jewish tradition, was a gesellschaftlicher Tuer, a man active in community, for whom community was important and enriching. He had been active in the youth movement of the Bund in Warsaw, in the Bund in Belgium, and when the remnants of survivors began to reach Brussels, some in striped garments, most of them smuggling borders, Nachman and Rywka, together with the other small group of Bundisten in Brussels, welcomed them and did all they could to help them settle, to help them find accommodation, work, peace of mind, and even education. And some of them are sitting here in the room, and some children of these who came to Belgium are sitting here in the room today. And children of the other Bundisten who had, together with my parents, worked in Belgium to welcome these are also sitting in the room tonight. So this is a very moving moment. Nachman led a Zukunft camp one Easter in Belgium, and I love photos I have of him leading the camper Zukunftisten in a long line with a drummer, the trumpeter, and other instrument players leading the way. They were all young survivors. Rywka, his loyal companion, was the baleboste, was she a baleboste, who ran the kitchen at that camp. I was taken along, for where else could they leave me? I was all of 7. There's another photo of Nachman, the commandant, standing near the flag at appel, roll call, the same ceremony as we performed here at skiff camps. And a photo of him sitting on the grass speaking to the group. I learned not many years ago from one of that group that Nachman gave them regular talks on all sorts of topics. This autodidact, who had to leave school at 11 when his father died in order to help his mother a little, taught these young survivors, whose education had been brutally interrupted by the war, the joy of learning and of knowledge. Another of that group told me some years ago that he owes Nachman his happiness. The ever-enterprising Nachman convinced Kopel Zeprov, whom he met in Paris after the war. Nachman had gone there to raise funds to help the new arrivals. He convinced him to smuggle the border to Brussels, where Kopel told me a number of years ago, where he met and married his Basherte, his Roisale. When another, Model Apelovich, was arrested when smuggling the border and was imprisoned, my gutsy mother travelled to the border and got him out. And Model's son is sitting in the hall today, Itzel. Nachman's evenings were spent mostly at Sitzungen und Versammlungen, committee meetings and larger meetings, besides concerts and theatre, which both my parents loved. And he was not shy to try to convert others to feel the same commitment and responsibility to the community. The daughter of another of the group, Shevele Schleicher, alias Sylvia Urbach, told me that her parents related to her the following memory. Brussels was a leather centre, as you've heard. One reason why Nachman had chosen Brussels, as he was a leather glove maker. Brussels also had many leather bag manufacturers, maroquiniers. On this particular occasion, Nachman told Sylvia's parents, both survivors who were working hard in the leather trade to establish themselves. Mach dat Tasch weniger und kommt auf der Versammlung. Make a bag less and come to the meeting. Immediately upon arriving here in Australia in 1949, with his wife Rywka and his two little daughters, Floris and Danielle, aged 15 and 10, yes, almost 70 years ago, Nachman and Rywka Gryfenberg threw themselves into the Jewish community, besides facing the task of making a living and setting up a home, a well-known migrant story. The community welcomed and greeted new arrivals with generosity and support. Melbourne had been a wise choice and a good destination. There was a Yiddish-speaking community here, a primary consideration for them, and a Bundesparty, albeit small. And of course, Nachman's younger brother Yankel and family were here. Yankel and Shangel had reached Shanghai on Sugihara visas. Shanghai, where they survived, and where their daughter Rywka was born. It is Yankel who organised papers for us to come to Australia. Their sister Simke had survived in Siberia with her husband and had come to Australia with us. Yankel Gryfenberg also was active in the community, in the Yiddish Sunday school, in the choir, and in the Zukunft movement. Nachman, a man of passion and conviction, wasted no time in joining the committees of organizations and institutions he considered important and contributing to the welfare of his beloved Jewish people and culture, such as the Kadimah, the Bund, as Floris mentioned, the Jewish Welfare Society, now known as Jewish Care, my son-in-law very involved with the Jewish Care today, the Jewish Sunday School, and the Skiff Freund. Never interested in holding on to Benklach, he believed in Tachlis, getting things done and not just holding positions. His concern for the Kiyum and Hemshech of Yiddish language and culture and of the Jewish people was part of his DNA. That had always been his goal. Nachman and Rywka began attending international conferences of the Yiddish Weltkongress, which discussed the question of the future of the Yiddish and other such issues. In his usual style, he became impatient with the incessant talk and resolutions. A man of action and self-confidence, he felt something had to be done and to be done now. Wie viel ist gerät und geschrieben geworden, I hear him say on the tape. How much has been written and talked about? And he lobbies the Yiddish Sunday School Committee, of which he was a member, and may have even been its president at one stage, to take the step to set up a small shul commission which will work towards establishing a Yiddish day school. The idea of a Yiddish day school had been raised years earlier, but it came to nothing. He convinces some of the members of the committee. This was in 1973, after a conference of the Yiddish Weltkongress. He recalls, and I hear it in his voice, die Zahl Nein-Sogers ist gewesen viel größer wie die Ja-Sogers. The no-sayers, their number was much greater than the yes-sayers. He shares this fragile decision with Tuvia Meisel, a Yiddish lover and well-known personality from Mexico, closely connected with the successful Yiddish school network there and visiting Melbourne at the time. Tuvia looks around to assess the viability of this plan and reports back to Nachman thus. Natan, ihr habt nicht kein Lehrers, ihr habt nicht kein Geld, ihr habt nicht kein Kinder, noch prüft und Gott soll euch helfen. Natan, that's what he was called communally, you have no teachers, no money, no children, but try and may God help you. Und Gott hat geholfen, as did people too. Nachman put down the first seed money and invited others to follow his lead. He gave up all other committees he was on and took on the leadership of this ambitious, maybe even unrealistic project. But Nachman, once his mind was made up, was not easily deterred. A healthy action one could call him. One active member, Pinje Ringelmul, Zichoine Levroche, undertook to knock on doors and convinced parents of children at the Sholem Aleichem kindergarten to place them in a newly formed class, in a prep class. In February 1975, the class was launched with a minyan of 10 children under the leadership of Doris Burston as first principal. My father recalls the day. In jenem Tag, voll mit Emoties, sind wir gegangen sein die Kinderwache. Von dem Tag an hat man mehr nicht geguckt auf zurück. That day, full of emotions, we went to see the young children. From that day on, we never looked back. Nachman headed the school committee for the next 10 years, and under his watch, it grew and expanded. Der Tate hat gefallen. Education was important to my parents, as was to a lot of that generation. Nachman had never considered a teaching career, and perhaps he wasn't so suited to one. But when the determined Yosef Giligich, Zechoine Levroche, had approached him years earlier, obviously recognizing Nachman's ability and knowledge, Yosef Giligich managed to persuade him to go into the classroom in the higher grades where he taught Yiddish literature for a little while. Nachman Gryfenberg, supported loyally by his Rywka at his side, was an intelligent, passionate and feisty human being. In Yiddish I could call him heiß gebogen, bathed in hot water. And that brings me to a few words in Yiddish, or my father will never forgive me. I've chosen to read from a letter from a well-known Yiddish writer and personality in Canada, Yehuda Elberg, written on the occasion of Nachman's 80th birthday in 1987. And he writes, Wie steht es im Perek? A guter Nomen ist besser wie der beste Parfüm. Parfüm wirkt nur auf dem Ort, wo es gefindt sich. A guter Nomen zergeht sich über der ganzen Welt. Sitzt sich ein Jid, Nachman Gryfenberg in Melbourne, und baut eine Schule und arbeitet mit Messias Nefesh für jüdischer Erziehung. Und auf einem anderen Eck Welt hat Yehuda Elberg davon Naches und ist stolz zu sein Freund. So it says in our texts that a good name is better than the best perfume. Actually said Shemen Tov, but Shemen at that point was possibly used to perfume yourself as well. Perfume only affects the spot where one is. A good name spreads all over the world. And so a man, Nachman Gryfenberg, sits in Melbourne, is building a school and is working with devotion for Jewish education. And in another corner of the world, Yehuda Elberg draws naches from this and is proud to be his friend. And another quote from an article written by a Melburnian, Motel Wilensky, Zechoine Levroche, partner of the late Mira Silberman, who led the kindergarten after Genie Wasserman, Alea Sholem, retired, written also on the occasion of Nachman's 80th birthday. Wir danken dir, Nachman, was du hast uns geboren, die jiddische Schule. We thank you, Nachman, that you gave birth for us to the Yiddish school. And he goes on to say, Emes in die Geburtswehen haben ihm zugeholfen eine Gruppe getreue, übergegebene Schultuer. Nachman Gryfenberg ist aber gewesen der Erste, was hat geworfen die Losung von Schaffen a Jiddisch-weltliche Talkschule. It's true that he was assisted in the labor pains by a group of loyal and dedicated school activists. However, Nachman Gryfenberg was the first to launch the slogan, the catch cry, of founding a Yiddish secular school. My father's determination, intelligence, and boundless optimism sustained him in all his endeavors in his personal, his communal, and in his working life. I learned a lot from him. I owe him my love of community and of Yiddish life, my love of life generally. He and Mum were great role models of strength, devotion, and dedication to achievement. He never lost his humility, nor his Menschlichkeit. He never gave up on the dream for a besserer Welt, of a better world, of Tikkun Olam, Kovet zeer ewigen Ondenk.